What's that?
Our new Space Coast Credit Union watchdog.
Watchdog.
The financial products and services you want, plus the protection you need. Space Coast Credit Union. Your life, your financial watchdog.
Dolphins fans, this is it. Well, it could be it. Look, either way, the Dolphins at 8-8 have given themselves a shot at making the playoffs. You guys know what needs to happen by now. Dolphins need to beat the Jets, probably without Tua, and at the same time, literally, they have to have Kansas City defeat Denver. It's been a crazy season. Why not have a crazy finish? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the final edition of Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk of 2024. An early Happy New Year to you. I am Chris Perkins, your host, your Miami Dolphins columnist for the South Florida Sun Sentinel. That is David Furones, your Miami Dolphins writer for the South Florida Sun Sentinel. We will be here with you for the next hour, entertaining you, talking to you, trying to settle you down or hype you up, depending on where you're at. Furones, where are you at right now? Do you need to be settled down, hyped up? What are you thinking about this weekend?
Yeah, I guess so. Perk, as we wait for the ball drop tonight for New Year's Eve, we certainly dropped the ball on starting on time and making our countdown to noon here for our show. But we'll pick it up for everybody, and we'll get it going on the right track here as we leave this show in 2024 and go to 2025.
That's it, baby. That is it. Hey, as always, we welcome everybody watching on YouTube. We welcome you to leave your comments, your thoughts, and your ideas on our live chat, the best place to get intelligent Dolphins talk. Some of your comments and questions we will talk about right here on the air. Others I will answer in a online Q&A later on today. We'd also like you to know if you missed any part of this show, you can catch the podcast on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. We'd like you to know you can sign up for our weekly newsletter, The Fans Flash, by scanning the QR code that is shown on your screen. So, Tua likely out for this Jets game on Sunday. We will probably see Snoop Huntley. We're going to talk about whether you feel good about Tua's long-term health. Also, if the Dolphins do make the playoffs, they will be at Buffalo. There's no other option. They will be at Highmark Stadium. We're going to talk about that because the Dolphins are 0-4 at Highmark Stadium in the McDaniel Tua era in our much-hyped Furones bonus. Furones will give us his 2025 Dolphins New Year's resolutions, and we'll talk team MVP, and finally, we will make our Dolphins-Jets predictions. The final week of the season can go in a lot of different directions. You know what we always say around here, there's an ocean of possibilities. Let's dive in. All right, Furones, let's talk about Tua's long-term durability and whether you trust it or not. Look, this is the second time in 3 seasons where Tua could miss the final regular season game, could miss the playoff game, and it's the second time in 3 seasons where he's had 2 separate injuries, right? In 2022, it was 2 concussions. This year, it's been a concussion and a hip injury. What do you think about Tua's long-term health, Furones? Do you think he's going to stay healthy for, all 18 or 17 games next season, which he did last year?
Yeah, well, that's the big concern with Tua. And we knew it, even though he had just come off a healthy season, we knew it because he hadn't made it through a fully healthy season at any point before that. And then I remember you were even making your bold predictions, which I guess weren't too bold, that he was due for missing some time after. And it has proven to be more of a one-off than anything new. But the Dolphins did give him that contract under the assumption, okay, well, he proved the last thing he needed to prove. And then with how much the Dolphins have always wanted to build up his confidence and tell him all the right things, say all the right things to him, and then they finally had to act on it, then they were kind of in that place where, all right, you had to, based on everything you had said to that point, and then he checked off the last thing he needed to check off to get the contract, which was staying healthy. Although you want to give these contracts up with an eye toward the future and whether you believe this player will stay healthy, not whether they just proved while still on the rookie contract they could stay healthy. But that's the position the Dolphins are in. So now, can you count on Tua to stay healthy? At this point, you've got to say no. You go into every season under the assumption that he's going to miss time. You just hope that it doesn't come at the worst possible time when you need a win and some help to get into the playoffs, or possibly might need him in the playoffs. Again, you mentioned 2 out of 3 years. This is the same scenario. The Dolphins were trying to, as an 8-8 team, get into the playoffs against the Jets in the finale. They did need help that week. Is that correct? They did need help in 2022 in the finale. I believe there was.
I don't think so. I think they just had to win and get in. I'd have to look.
Okay, I feel like there might have been another game because someone said, McDaniel said that someone told them the other result went their way. Was it? I forget. I'd have to look it up. But anyway, a lot of similarities. The point is,
yes,
to
a whole lot of similarities
years ago. So and now it's just unfortunate because you go into every year saying, okay, now this is the excuse the Dolphins have as to why we're still not seeing them get another playoff win. And hey, they're still alive this year for it and could still get it if they get in, of course. But you didn't have Tua in Buffalo 2 years ago. Then half the defense, and you played this super cold game, although you could have had a home game and a division championship if you just beat the Titans at home or beat the Bills at home last year in the finale. So it's always something. And then now it's again with Tua where that would be the excuse, and having missed them for 4 games earlier. So I know we started the season saying it's a no excuse season, but I understand it this year, but then now it's really got to be no excuse going forward because you have to be prepared with a backup quarterback situation going forward.
Yeah, it's still no excuses. And strangely enough, we could see on Sunday maybe the ideal backup quarterback for the Dolphins, right? Tyrod Taylor, a guy who is a backup but has starting experience and could probably fill in such a situation. So it just all kinds of things that are just crazy about this season and crazy about Sunday's game. Before we move on, let's say what's up to Pete's Takes, Scant Dollar, Ender Fireplays YT, Fitzgerald Grass. By the way, Scant Dollar says draft a QB. We're going to talk about that. Fitzgerald Grass, you're right. The Canes have fired the defensive coordinator, and good thing. Lance Guidry, boy, that defense. Peter McDowell.
We'll have to add another segment. Talk about
I know, yeah, that would be another segment, wouldn't it? Peter McDowell, what's up from Canada? He says, Happy New Year, everyone. Can we send Andy Reid a truckload of chicken nuggies? LOL. Very nice. Very nice.
Hey, well, Andy Reid should remember, and I saw this tweet from Biggie Ian, a former fan of the year, one of the top Dolphins fans, and ultimate good guy, where he said, hey, Andy Reid and the Chiefs, remember 2019 when the Dolphins beat the Patriots in the regular season finale, helped the Chiefs get the number 2 seed for a first-round bye then, because that was before it was 7 teams, right? They went from 3 to 2, and the Patriots dropped to 3, and they ended up winning Super Bowl Live, if I'm not mistaken. That was that same. So maybe Andy Reid should return the favor.
There you go, baby. There you go. Little synchronicity there. Dana Bice, Dolphins are still alive. You're right. Kenna Rankin, what's up? Nandito 357. Cat for life. Cat for life. I heard you on the Leroy and what's his face? Brent Tobin and Leroy. Heard him on Tobin and Leroy. Yeah, he was on a rant. Billy Batson, what's up? Philip Merrow says, what's up, guys? Everyone talking about QB backup plan. I'm really hoping we can find right guard and left guard and protect a quarterback this year. Yeah, that's true. That's true. What else we got? H says, let's enjoy the ride. Life of being a Dolphins fan. Tell me about it. Mike McDaniel. Hopefully he doesn't have to start meetings at 25 after next season. Mike Gabbis. Anybody going to the game Sunday thinking of making the trip down from MA, Massachusetts, and getting a tailgate started? Is MA Massachusetts? I guess it is, right? Maine?
It is, Perkins.
I don't know. It could be. I don't know. MA. It's not Michigan. Anyways, let's see who else is on here. Mal B Crazy. What's up? JD the Great One. Papa Hog. What's up? DF, what's going on? John Russell from Sheffield, England. What's up, man? Brian Mason. What's going on, everybody? Glad that y'all joined us. So, Furones, when we talk about the Dolphins and what they're going to do in the future, neither of us trust Tua to stay healthy. And it's not Tua's fault. Well, let's talk about that, actually. Let's talk about that. Is it Tua's fault? Does Tua need to change his playing style? And look, I'm not going to fault Tua for being a football player, for being a competitor. I think it's crazy that he goes for that he throws his head in front of somebody's knees to make a tackle on an interception return. But running into Damar Hamlin, that's just bad luck to me. You get concussed from that. That's not being reckless or careless. That's just bad luck. If he'd have tried to run the guy over and helmet to helmet, and then I would say, okay, that's ridiculous. But he just ran into the guy. That's bad luck. The hip injury against Houston, we think it was on a rollout to the left where he kind of got sandwiched. Again, I think Tua said he probably should have gotten rid of that ball, but, whatever. And then the San Francisco play, I still don't know what that one was. I haven't looked. Mike McDaniel said a quarterback hit around the 50-yard line. But my question is Tua too reckless? I don't think that he is overall. Again, making that tackle on the interception return, you don't dive at somebody's knees head first. And maybe you're trying to put your midsection there and do a rolling tackle, but you're going to get kneed in the side and maybe get some bruised ribs or something like that. So try to shove him. But there's not much I would tell Tua to change about his playing style.
There are things he can help himself with. The scrambles, of course. So now we've seen basically the two injuries that we're concerned about this year that actually occurred, the concussion and of course now this new hip injury, which is different from the one that ended his college career. Same hip but different spot. Both of them occurred on scrambles, so plays outside the pocket where he internally gets motivated to make something happen, and the football player in him takes over. He's got the two little voices in his head. One is the angel telling him slide. And the other one's the devil in him that's telling him, ram your head into it, go dive forward. You got to make a play for your team. And he has listened to the angel voice a couple times in the immediate aftermath of his return. We saw it in the Arizona game, and then even in that first Buffalo game, the second Buffalo game, his second game back. He had a situation where it was a fourth down scramble. It was like, oh my God, all over again. Same thing as the Damar Hamlin play. And he dove forward but to the ground, so he still protected himself the way he did it. Now you're still susceptible if a player has bad intentions. He could still go down with you and run a shoulder or his helmet into his helmet, or legs could go. He could end up getting kicked the same way. It was with a note boom, a rose boom, one of those booms from the Rams when he was returning that interception, and Tua stuck his head in the way. So yeah, Tua can help himself. It's been consistent now that it's on scrambles this season, trying to make a play and going forward. So if he can cut that out of the repertoire and protect himself in those cases, then he'd do a whole lot better for himself. I asked Daryl Bevell about it recently, when he can protect himself. And this is before we even knew this hip injury would become as grave as it has been. And then he said, there's not much you can do in the pocket, because if you need an extra second for a guy to get open to watch someone, to watch a play develop, then you take that and you take a hit as you throw. You step into a throw. You don't want to void your mechanics at the expense of staying away from hits. But in the event of plays outside of the pocket, then he's got to protect himself better. Although I guess he did aggravate this one on a quarterback hit. I'm not sure either exactly what that one was. I assumed it might have been the Bosa hit when he threw to the end zone to Tyreek Hill, but I guess it was another one.
Yeah, I'm not clear. I've got to go back and try to match it up with what McDaniel said. But look, DeHesse checking in from New Mexico. From New Mexico. What's going on? Philip Miro.
Did they write NM? Did they write NM and you weren't sure?
No. See, here you go, man. It's come on, Furone. I don't want to hear this next show. It's a new year. I don't want to hear this kind of stuff.
No, no, we're still in 2024, but I'll leave it in 2024 though. And then
there we go.
That's my New Year's resolution. I'll be nicer to Perk on the show.
There we go. I want to hear that in Furone's bonus. That's what I want to hear. The first thing. Let's see. Philip Miro says Tua has made some mental errors. The first Buffalo and Cincinnati concussion was past pro fault. That's where all this started. You got it right, Perk. Tua can fix some decision making, but is playing well. John Russell says there was no serious pressure to extend Tua as he had little trade value due to injury history. Finn should have made him play on fifth-year option. So that brings up another thing here. If you're Steve Ross, do you have regrets about that contract extension? I didn't think Tua should have gotten it due to performance and injury history, but what's done is done. There's no reason bitching and moaning about it. You can't take it back. But do you think Steve Ross has regret, and do you think Steve Ross blames Mike McDaniel? Because, again, what Tua told us was he had that good training camp practice, and Tua said, little birdies told me that Mike McDaniel went into the facility and basically pounded the table on Tua's behalf. So, Furones, if you're Steve Ross, how are you feeling about this contract extension right now?
Yeah, maybe slightly some regret, but I think you knew what you were getting into when you did it. You were aware of this possibility for sure. But I would say more so it's the backup quarterback plan, because you know who you have in Tua, and that is, let's face it, injury prone. So I would put more fault on that, because I think probably for Stephen Ross, from his perspective, you like the play that you've gotten out of Tua when he's healthy. I mean, he's vying for a completion percentage record. You wrote about it recently. Drew Brees, of course, now he won't be able to catch it. He had to be super efficient in the last couple of games, and he'll miss the mark, but still that kind of efficiency. He's had seasons where he leads the league in yards per attempt, and then he's had another year where he leads the league in quarterback rating. So he was just a Pro Bowler last year. So I think if you're Steve Ross and the Dolphins front office, you like the play that you get from Tua. So from that perspective, you don't regret it. But it's another case of the injury popping up, and you knew what you were getting into. I think you just needed to have a better backup quarterback plan than entering the season, having Mike White and Skylar Thompson compete and have both of them look pretty bad in the preseason and training camp, and then Skylar Thompson kind of wins it because he was the only one that looked competent in the preseason finale, while Mike White was just flat out awful.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that if I'm Steve Ross, I probably am questioning Greer and McDaniel for that even more than the Tua extension, because it's like, how could you miss on the quarterback position that much? I know it's backup quarterback and not the starter, but you see how important backup quarterback is to this team because of Tua's injury history. How could you be wrong on both Mike White and Skylar Thompson? That's probably, if I'm Steve Ross, I'm looking at them wondering about that, correct?
Yeah. Yes. And here's the other thing with Tua is that this organization was and is in a win now mode. So
Yes.
you're not doing that after building up Tua. You're not going to stay in your win now mode by drafting a new quarterback in the first round and not where you're picking. Okay, yeah, if you could have gotten a Jaden Daniels in the draft, then by all means, he could have you competing right away with this roster. But you weren't going to be picking a young quarterback up where you were selecting in the draft. And a top quarterback that was available. What were you going to go with Kirk Cousins? And then you saw how that has played out so far in Atlanta, if that would have been the route. So Tua was the guy that you were going to roll with for this core to try to win now. So you were kind of in that mode regardless, and then it just played out the way it played out. You had to be ready for a backup quarterback scenario because you do know he is prone, he is susceptible to getting injured and missing time.
Yep. By the way, pretty boy, Call of Duty 1, Richard Thompson, what's up? I'm going to answer you guys' questions online just to whet some appetites, though. Pretty boy is saying, what's up, guys? You realize Tua has been out a third of the season. Yes, he's a good player, but the statement Tua has its own asterisk beside it. Might be time to look otherwise for a QB1. Call of Duty is getting into our next segment. What do the fans gain for winning this weekend? Do the playoffs really make a difference with the franchise moving forward? And then Richard Thompson going back to quarterback instead of thinking of ways to keep a slow, weak-armed quarterback healthy. Why not just get a new quarterback? Just a thought, LOL. I'll take those online later today. But Furones, let's migrate over into segment 2. And segment 2, of course, is about the playoffs. And look, the playoffs. Would the Dolphins have any chance to win the wild card game at Buffalo? That's the topic here. And look, again, the Dolphins are 0-4 in Buffalo in the McDaniel Tua era. We know that Tua missed that 34-31 wild card loss. That was Skylar Thompson playing in that game. Buffalo has scored at least 30 points in every game at Highmark Stadium against the Dolphins in the McDaniel Tua era, right? It was the 32-29 victory, 34-31 victory, 48-20 victory, 30-27 victory. So they put up the points. So here's my question to you, Furones. And look, let me just say, if I'm the Dolphins, and even me from where I sit, it's way better to make the playoffs. What you might go up there and lose 50-0. You might go up there and lose 62-7. But I know. Sorry, Dan Marino. Don't mean to bring up a bad point.
Did you cover that, or did you start the next year?
What's that? That was it.
Did you cover that one?
Oh no. That was it. I started the next year.
Yeah, it started the next year.
I started the next year. So look, so again, to me, it's yes, you benefit greatly by making the playoffs. You would win 7 of your last 9. I know it's all against non-playoff teams. I don't care. That's better than losing to non-playoff teams. So to me, yes, you get to the playoffs. You want to get to the playoffs. Even if I go up there and lose, I want to get to the playoffs if I'm the Dolphins. Furones, what do you think about that? And off of that, do you think the Dolphins can go up there with Snoop Huntley and score 30 or more points and beat Buffalo in the playoffs?
Well, first, of course, you want to go and get into the playoffs. I mean, this is what you play for. And you already knew from way back that this was the best you could do this season, was a wild card game and going on the road somewhere to the north. And it has to be because Miami is like the southernmost team. So, of course, you're going north if you're the Miami in the playoffs in January. So you already knew Buffalo was going to win this division from the second that they won that game at Hard Rock Stadium. Actually, I'll even go before Tua's injury within that game. From the second they were up 3 scores and already had secured that win, they won in Miami. So there was no way the Dolphins were going to come away with a split. It was going to be a season sweep for Buffalo. Buffalo was going to win the home game, of course, and they weren't going to let up the way they were looking. So the Dolphins all year, all they've had to play for since week 2 has been a wild card berth at best and road playoff game. So here's your chance. You have a chance to get it. And you don't need that much help. I mean, it's going to be a big ask of a lot of Chiefs backups and Carson Wentz to win against Denver, but it's just one game. It's just one other result that you already got the Colts loss, was probably just as improbable this past weekend against the Giants and Drew Lock. So you already got the help that you needed. So that's a big boost. And the Dolphins should go into East Rutherford, New Jersey, and beat the Jets. So this is what you want. And then now, can they win in Buffalo? It's gonna. If you have Tua, it'll come down to that. If you have Tua, they can. If it's a backup quarterback, and I love what Snoop Huntley just did in Cleveland, but that was against Cleveland, and that was a 20-3 game where the Browns did anything and everything to not compete very well in that game. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is not Josh Allen. So, yeah, you talk about a team that you held to 3 points as opposed to, like you said, Josh Allen always puts up 30 at home against the Dolphins. So you're going to need to put up points, and it would help. I know your thought on this, but you might want to hold them to 7, maybe.
Right.
Hold them to 7 and 30 is good enough to win. That might be a good idea too. So, but the Dolphins would need Tua to have a chance in Buffalo. And I'll just say, if you're the Bills, the order of which you would like to face the teams that are in the mix for the 7 seed to play Buffalo would be, first and foremost, the Bills would love to have the team currently sitting in 7th. I would say, but as Bills fans, you would prefer to face Bo Nixon and the Denver Broncos. Sure, they've shown a lot this year, but rookie quarterback going into Buffalo against Josh Allen, no chance. He's not doing it. If the Dolphins have Tua, they would be the next team because they're better than the Broncos in this case, that they have all this familiarity with the AFC East foe, and they've played them very close in Buffalo so many times, even with Skylar Thompson one time being the backup quarterback going in there in a playoff game. The same Skylar Thompson that we watched earlier this year and 2 years earlier for him. And then the last team I would want to face if I'm the Bills is the Bengals. If the Dolphins and Broncos lose and the Bengals get in, then Joe Burrow, who, by the way, has beaten them in a playoff game on the road there 2 years ago, a divisional game, or now 3 years ago, I forget, 2 years ago, actually.
3, right?
Boy, yeah, I'm getting my...
Whatever. Yeah, me too.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah, but he has gone in there and beaten those same Bills in that stadium, and the Bengals would have a lot of momentum going into the playoffs. So that would be the last team I think the Bills want to face. So that's the order: is they would least want to face the Bengals, then Dolphins in the middle, and I think the Bills would prefer the Broncos. If I'm the Bills, that's how I would rank it.
Boy, if I'm the Bills, I want to face the Dolphins. You just spanked them. You spanked them every time up there. I don't care how close it is.
On a 60-yard field goal last time at home.
Don't matter. So, you won.
And there's a lot of familiarity between AFC East foes. I know the record the Dolphins have, but I'm the Bills. It's a little bit threatening, and you got to beat the same team 3 times in a season. That's even the year that they beat them in the playoffs. They didn't do that. It was a split season series, and then they won the playoff game.
Yep. But you know what? So let me say this, though. I think one of the most ridiculous things in sports is it's tough to beat a team 3 times. So you're telling me when I'm 0-2 against you, now I have the advantage in the 3rd game? Like that makes no sense. It makes no sense.
I hear you, and I was even saying it last year when a lot of Dolphins fans wanted to lose against the Bills in the regular season finale because they didn't want them again in a home wild card game. But they prefer the 4th coldest kickoff against the eventual Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. By the way, were the defending Super Bowl champions also. So that was just mind-boggling to me. How the F would you prefer at Kansas City kickoffs and below 0 temperature throughout the night as opposed to a home playoff game against the Bills, who, by the way, you would have just beat them in that scenario. So just beat them again.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yep. Stavros, what's up from New Mexico? You know I love New Mexico. We got our 2 New Mexico people in here. EJ Barrow, what's going on? Travalis Tinker checking in from the Bahamas once again. Let's see here. What do we got? Let's see. Billy Batson says, talking to Cap for life. Tua ain't about that Buffalo life. Yeah. Daryl Wright says,
he played really well last time in Buffalo.
He did.
But Daniel Paul did one of his best games.
but you got to get a win. You got to get a win. I mean, that's it. Daryl Wright says, Happy New Year's. I believe we have a money problem leading to a philosophical physicality issue. Ooh, that's deep to end the year. I'll say this. I don't think that there's a money problem here with this Dolphins team. I think you're right with the philosophical physicality issue, but I don't think that there's a money problem here. Look, you've got you could say a money problem if you looked at Teron Armstead charging you $21 million against the cap next year, and our edge rusher who didn't come back, Bradley Chubb, and him. But aside from, I would say you have cap issues to manage, which you do every year, as opposed to a money problem. I think the Dolphins have actually, coming into this year, they had spent the money wisely. I didn't agree with the Tua extension and Tyreek. I know Tyreek wanted his money, blah, blah, blah. But I think that overall they've been fairly smart spending their money. John Russell checks in and says to beat the Bills or Ravens in the playoffs, the Fins would most likely have to play a perfect game and show complementary football, something they haven't been able to do consistently this season. I would agree. And, the fact that they've struggled against these playoff teams this year, I don't have any faith in them winning a playoff game, especially at Buffalo, but you definitely want to have the shot because, as you say, Furones, it's just one game. Anything can happen in one game. So you definitely want to make the playoffs. And let me ask you something because this segment is really about Tua we were talking, about Tua and his durability and everything like that. If Tua was healthy, 100% for, December, do you think, we know the Dolphins could win a playoff game in Buffalo. Would they? I don't think they would. Do you think they would if Tua was healthy?
I mean, I would favor Buffalo, of course.
Yeah.
But so would they? I mean, if I was a gambling man, I would bet on the Bills. But
yeah.
But I mean, I would say they could. So I'll say they could. Yeah. Would they? I mean, probably not.
Right.
Don't favor it, but they could. They could.
Yeah. Yeah.
They almost
Billy Batson
2 years ago. Keep in mind.
Okay. Well, Billy Batson says Huntley is a dog. He has a puncher's chance. Put some respect on Huntley's building block. He does. He does have a puncher's chance, and he can run, so he can create plays. I did a story, which I think you just referenced, that on Huntley and McDaniel being kind of more in sync play calling wise, and really what that was McDaniel saying he learned more that Snoop Huntley learned more about the offense running the scout team. But I think McDaniel also learned more about Snoop Huntley. When Snoop had to make those starts, he had only been here for 4 weeks, 3 weeks or something?
Within 2 weeks.
So
Tuesday, and then after the concussion, and then the Monday night, or 2 weeks later. So 13 days, 13 and a half. Yeah. Yeah.
So I do think that the operation ran more smoothly last week. Snoop knowing the offense better, McDaniel knowing what calls to make. I thought in previous games with the backup quarterbacks, they were operating a game plan designed for Tua. I thought Skyler was. I thought Tim Boyle was. I thought Snoop was. What do you think about that, Furones? Do you think that, this week and last week that Mike McDaniel was more in tune with Snoop and called a better game than, say, Indy and New England and whichever 3 games?
Tennessee was the worst one, of course. Yeah. Great piece that you wrote yesterday as you got back to Miami Gardens from our trip to Cleveland on McDaniel game planning for Huntley, and it had to be music to all Dolphins fans' ears when they heard the report on the CBS broadcast that McDaniel was working with 2 game plans this week. He worked with 2 game plans.
Yes.
So, to Mike McDaniel, which I did give him credit for in my grades that I wrote yesterday coming off.
You did.
So excellent by him to have a separate game plan that suited and fit Tyler Huntley, and also be prepared if Tua could go for the normal game plan that it would be. So it wasn't Huntley, it wasn't Snoop trying to do the Tua plan. It was a better fit for Huntley and his skill sets. So kudos.
Listen, Kenna Rankin, what here's a comment. Mike is a better coach without Tua. Wow.
Well, we just said I would say that wasn't the case for a lot of those other games.
Yeah.
New England notwithstanding a little bit, it still came down to Jalen Polk's heel on the end line for the Patriots. Could you imagine if they lose that one? But yeah. I would say that hasn't proven to be the case with a lot of these games, but because we have seen the record without Tua. But this one was a great example for him.
It was. I thought this showed a lot of growth for Mike McDaniel as far as the recognition that, yes, I need to have something specific for this quarterback skill set. Also, I thought it was a great job by Snoop to take advantage of Tyreek that much. The 9 receptions for 105 yards, 9 receptions on 9 targets. That was also good. I was a little bit surprised that he didn't go to Jonnu Smith more because, as I recall, Snoop was the quarterback when Jonnu really started to emerge early in the season. I think he had like 8 receptions in one game and 7 receptions in another game. So I thought that Jonnu was going to be more of a target, but whatever. Jonnu got the touchdown reception there late. I think he ended 3 receptions for 26 yards and a small contribution, but he got the touchdown.
He was hitting that post to Tyreek Hill, the slants, the posts to Tyreek Hill. Those were there in front of the
Yes.
That kind of looked. That was like Tua game plan esque. What we're seeing, because we see Tua hit those throws very often, and Huntley had showed fine anticipation and accuracy and timing hitting those.
To put a bow on this segment about could the Dolphins go up to Buffalo and beat them in a playoff game? Do you think Sean McDermott outcoaches Mike McDaniel? They are 1-6 against Buffalo, I believe, in the 3 years because they twice a year and then the playoff game. I think that he does. I don't think it's egregious. I think that the players mostly decide the game. Josh Allen, that 32-29 game, right? Both quarterbacks played well. Josh Allen came and took the game. Tua played well. I thought Mike McDaniel coached well. That Buffalo playoff game, there were some issues with clock management and getting the plays in on time. But you did have Skyler in there, and Mike McDaniel was also a rookie that year. Let's not forget that. Mike McDaniel has had to grow. But do you think that – I think McDermott does out-coach McDaniel, but it's not embarrassing, I don't think.
Yeah, well, we do know McDermott certainly has the advantage, as has been proven over time in this series. But, yeah, like you said, wouldn't be egregious. Mike McDaniel has led the Dolphins to close games in Buffalo, even in the playoffs, even with Skylar Thompson playing. So, yeah, it comes down to the players. And, hey, if Josh Allen reverts back to some of those turnover-prone performances that used to be the case with him, doesn't seem like it is very much this year. Seems like he has grown past that. But if he would ever revert back to that would keep the Dolphins in a game like it was in that playoff game. And, hey, the Bills, although sometimes they've been eliminated because of the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and what was it, 13 or 16 seconds to get the game field goal and of course last season's game, sometimes the Bills have had playoff shortcomings. And I'm not talking about the 4 straight Super Bowls in the early 90s. I'm talking about these current Bills. That game against the Dolphins was a shortcoming to have it come that close against Skylar Thompson. The very next week, they hosted the Bengals and lost in that game and looked awful in it. So the Bills have at times come up short in the postseason. So you never know when you could just catch them in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, I like the Bills. I have nothing against the Bills. But look, they've got to be able to beat Kansas City, right? I mean, I don't care about the regular season. I don't care about Josh Allen getting MVP. Y'all have got to beat Buffalo in the playoffs. You saw Cincinnati was able to do it, I mean, beat Kansas City in the playoffs. Cincinnati was able to do it, but Buffalo really stumbles right there. Kenna, no, I get what you were saying. Kenna is saying if Mike has the right players, Mike will win all day, and saying that Mike is better. My point is Mike is better not worrying about Tua. Is what I'm saying. He can focus on the team. I got you. It's a very interesting comment and a very interesting point. Very well done. Raphael Courtwright, what's up? Blackjack Green, what's up? I am him. 12 points per game average in 5 games without Tua. 12 points per game average versus bad teams in those 5 games. Yeah, they've struggled. They have clearly struggled. I mean, there's no hiding that. Fitzgerald Grass says we are stuck with Tua for at least 2 years. Cat for Life says Flores was right about Tua. Wow. I'm not a Slick Videos. Chris Greer need to be fired for drafting and extending Tua. All right, hold up. You guys know I'm not like a Tua apologist. I'm not waving the Tua flag, leading the Tua bandwagon. But the dude is a good quarterback. Okay, he is a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. But somebody here early
drafting him. Would you prefer Tua or Justin Herbert?
I think it's a wash. Actually, I do. Somebody on here hit the nail.
Watching this, just irate, just banging the table. How can you a wash?
That's right.
He's like, how could you go with Tua over Justin Herbert?
Oh boy, that argument. Somebody on here, and I lost the comment, but they hit the nail on the head. They said, I don't care. It's about winning in the playoffs. I don't care about Tua's stats. It's about winning in the playoffs, and I agree. Here, Blackjack Green. I don't care about Tua's stats. It's about winning in the playoffs. It's about team, not stats. I agree, and I agree with that for the Dolphins also, and pretty much any team, right? That you can have that 11-win season, that 12-win season. Dallas Cowboys, a perfect example, right? Like it's about winning in the playoffs. So, hopefully the Dolphins can get there, and we'll see what happens when they do get there. But if they do get there, I think they probably lose. But it is about winning in the playoffs. JD the Great One says it's more than just a QB issue in Miami. I agree 100%. I keep saying this is bigger than Tua. It really is. This is philosophical. This is strategic. This is organizational. They've got to kind of shift their thinking here. So, all right.
A book that you write in the offseason, bigger than Tua.
Oh, that probably wouldn't sell very, very well around here, but
maybe just make it a column. Maybe just make it a column.
I was gonna say Chris Greer would not buy that book. I'm just gonna say that.
Mail him a free copy.
Yeah, that's right. All right, here we are. It is this time of the show. It is one of the top 4 segments of this 4-segment show. It is the Furones bonus.
Oh, the Furones bonus.
I love it, baby. The last one of 2024. And on that note, here it is. Furones' 2025 Dolphins New Year's resolutions with some team MVP talk mixed in. But look, the Dolphins can resolve to do a lot of things, right? Improve that offensive line, get a backup quarterback, get 2 quality safeties because both of them are probably going to be gone. A lot of things they can resolve to do in 2025. What would you do, Furones, if you were in charge of the Dolphins?
Yeah, the New Year's resolution for the Dolphins has to be to get more physical. Just get physical. I know you love it. I know it. Bone. I don't know what would be the name of a perk segment. We already have Dolphins deep dive. You already get the whole. This is just my. But I know I'm speaking your language here. Just get physical, and that probably means finding a dog at guard. One of the guard. I know you have questions at both guards. Maybe Isaiah Wynn can be healthy next year, and you can get a full season out of him. And Liam Eichenberg does go into free agency. You have gotten some good play. I know not too much. Fans don't get on me. I know what everyone feels about Liam Eichenberg, who is a nice gentleman.
Yes.
When I talk to him in the locker room, he's cool to talk to and gets him in opponents' heads. Don't short him on that. But yeah. You need upgrades at guard. You already did well with Aaron Brewer at center, although he is one of the more athletic centers. But he's also a dog out there. He can go and be physical at his size. You already have the next left tackle that you're going to roll with. You want Austin Jackson back at right tackle. So shore up the guard positions. You need a pair of safeties that consistently make tackles. Yep. So yes, that goes into physicality as that last line of defense, making sure that a throw that gets a team to the 8-yard line to a wide receiver like a Deebo Samuel. You get the guy down, not going through both of your safeties to then make it a touchdown. You still have a chance, especially with this Anthony Weaver-led defense, if you get him down in the red zone, and then you give yourself 3 or 4 more downs to stop the opponent. Maybe a linebacker next to Jordan Brooks. We already know David Long didn't work in this new defense, and I love, by the way, the physicality and intensity that you get from Jordan Brooks at one of those linebacker spots. But and I love Anthony Walker too. But maybe as that first backup available next to whoever you do line up, next to him. I like what you've gotten out of Walker in that role this year. Filled in when needed, and when Long did not rise to the level that you wanted this year. That also means physicality in the run game. So a bigger physical back to complement Devon Achane and take some of the workload off of him, as he is diminutive in stature. He's taken a lot of touches this year. We know how much he's been active in the pass game. So catching the ball both out of the backfield and even lining up as receiver. I think you still want him involved in the run game as much as possible. You want to highlight that speed and just get him the ball in different ways, but you need some physicality to complement that. So it's a true balance there, and it would highlight if a defense is getting banged up by a more physical runner, then that makes it even tougher to go and chase Devon Achane when those legs are hurting after taking down a bigger back. And now I say all this, but maybe the most important transaction will be to improve the backup quarterback position. But hey, Tyler Huntley just had a great game. It may not be out of the realm of possibility that he could be the guy with more development in this offense, but just whatever is the best possible backup quarterback realistic scenario that you can find, the Dolphins need to do that. But I think it's the mentality of physicality that is the biggest New Year's resolution that I want to see from the Dolphins in 2025.
Rifleman 165, Tua is just mostly injury prone and the Dolphins are too old. A resolution to get younger?
Well, you're locked in so much with contracts you have. So you have this core. This is the core you're rolling with. So once this core has run its course, then sure, you get younger after that. But you committed to working with this core, so you're rolling with it. Sure, you need to draft well because now you have your quarterback no longer on his rookie contract. You gave him that second contract, so it is what it is. It's what you're working with salary cap wise. So now you have to make sure you draft well so that when other free agents leave at other positions because you can't afford them, you can supplement on the back end with good young talent. Okay,
staying on the topic of New Year's resolutions, this topic is kind of about Tua, and it's from Legend. I can understand the Tuaneers, but media is supposed to be unbiased. So how do we not see we can't win a Super Bowl with Tua? I think you can win a Super Bowl with Tua. Listen, Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. You can't tell me that he's better than Tua. Brock Purdy got to a Super Bowl. Jared Goff got to a Super Bowl. To me, you build a team.
Here.
What's that?
That Goff could very well be back in it this year.
And could be back this year. To me, you build a team around the quarterback also. And unless, look, Josh Allen hasn't taken his team there. Lamar Jackson hasn't taken his team there. to fault the quarterback is kind of short-sighted. You've got to build a team around the quarterback. Should that be a resolution for the Dolphins, that we're not going to be so Tua-centric in 2025? We're going to kind of spread the wealth like Philly does, like Baltimore does, like San Francisco does. Should that be a resolution, or nah? You've got other things to worry about. It's too late to make that drastic a shift.
Yeah, I mean, as much as you can. Yeah, now you do have the salary cap constraints, and you've committed a lot of contract money and cap space to the guys currently on this roster. So, but as much as you can, it would be ideal. But you are limited in that sense and building too much at other positions.
Yep. All right, Furones. Look, we're gonna talk some team MVP here also. Could be a bunch of candidates. What I don't want to hear from you, Furones, is Tua. I don't want to hear that because you could name you could name the quarterback for every team for that. But I will allow it because this is your set. This is the Furones bonus. So your team MVP. I mean, is it Tua? Is it Devon Achane? Is it Jonnu Smith? Is it Calais Campbell? Who do you think? I went with Zach Sealer as mine. Who do you like as the team MVP?
Yeah, now the MVP is a quarterback-centric award. And earlier this season, I have said, Tua clearly the MVP because we saw what it was when he wasn't in there, and then they started winning games. They lost a couple, but the whole orchestration was better, of course, and then they finally did get to winning games once he came back. But to win an MVP award, you have to be available. So I think Tua took himself out of contention for a true team MVP when he is so valuable and he was off the field for a key 4-game stretch, and he himself has felt remorseful for making that decision and then putting the team in this position and losing games because he wasn't available for a 4-game stretch where, I mean, it all should have been 3-1. Let's face it, at least 3-1 in that stretch, and they ended up 1-3 without him. So, if that were the case, if you gave it to someone because they prove how valuable they are when they're not there, then Peyton Manning, his last year with the Colts, when he had the neck issue and didn't play, then he would have won MVP that year. I remember I did joke that year in a Facebook status, I believe, that Peyton Manning the MVP. But my MVP truly is, and we have a media vote in this for the official award, the Dan Marino Team MVP Award, right? Named after Marino, right? Zach Sealer. Zach Sealer is also mine, like yours. I think he has been the most valuable to this defense. It's hard to go with one player on the offensive side. Achane has obviously carried a huge workload, but absent the one game has been at times, and you wouldn't go with him. But on this defense, and hey, I'll even throw in a name like Jordan Brooks on there, which you didn't mention. He has the most tackles by any Dolphin since Zach Thomas in a season. So he surpassed that mark, and he did it before the 17th game. So you can't say he has an extra game. Well, he did it in 15 games. So he topped Rashad Jones's mark for most tackles since Zach Thomas's playing days. But I think it starts up front for this defense. The Zach Sealer, Calais Campbell combination has been great, and I think you give it to Sealer. The interior pass rush he has provided, how critical he is to the run defense, and then what he does starting up front does it for the rest of this defense. I give it to Zach Sealer.
Kenna Rankin says 28 for show. P Double says Smith, Jonnu Smith. Let's see, Billy Betts and Achane all day. Let's see, who else do we have here? Peter McDowell says Brooks has been a revelation. EJ Barrow, Sanders for MVP. What a Jason Sanders, man. The 24 straight field goals, the 9 straight from 50 or more. That's pretty nice. He's been consistent.
Yeah. Well, wasn't there a year that a punter won MVP? Washington in like a
the punter or the kick? Mark Mosley?
Or kicker or punter? What was it?
Yeah, I have to go back and look. That sounds familiar. I have to go back and look. Sounds like back in my day, back in the days when I was I think maybe Mark Mosley.
Mark
That might
Mosley.
be.
Yeah, he was an valuable player in '82.
And back in my day, baby. That's right. That was back in the days of the Hogs, of Riggins and all that.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know why I said punter. Place kicker.
Yeah. DeHesse says Zach Sealer, Achan, and Sanders. Let's see here. There's some Tua stuff. The Cap for Life. The Bills beat Tua with a Dollar Tree roster. Let's see. Did I say P Double? P Double said Tua won't protect himself. Let's see here. But you know what? The MVP thing. What I'll say this: the Dolphins have not had a great season for a lot of individuals, right? Like Tyreek and Waddle. You know, Jonnu has, Achan has. But Zach Sealer has, Calais Campbell has. I don't even know if you could say Jalen Ramsey has had an outstanding season. He's had a good season. We're going to talk about Jalen in the next segment also. But, I don't know that you would say that he's had an outstanding season. So, the MVP list, I think, is fairly short for this particular season. Chinzo says Campbell, Zach, and Jonnu. So, Oh, you know what, Pete Stakes? This is a good question. Perk and David, did you guys hear anything on why all of a sudden they decided to put Cheetah at punt return versus the Browns? No, I didn't get a chance to ask Mike McDaniel that yesterday. They were just with all the Tua questions and then the injury questions. We just didn't have time to get around to it. But I do wonder if that was something Tyreek requested, or I do wonder how that came about. I'm sure that will be asked tomorrow. All right, Furones, look, let's go on to our final segment. This is our prediction segment. It is Dolphins against the Jets. Sunday, I almost say it tomorrow. What time is this game? 4:25, right? And then the other one is at 4:05. Do I have that?
No, 4:25 also.
They're both 4:25. Okay, exact same time. Who you got, Furones? And I'll say this. Look, we know that the Jets are a horrible team. And we saw all the stuff with Aaron Rodgers last week and all of that. But let me just say this. We know it was a 32-26 overtime game last time. We know that Garrett Wilson had a good day against Jalen Ramsey, right? Jalen Ramsey was shadowing him. Devontae Adams also went over 100 yards receiving. And the Jets last game did not have Sauce Gardner. They'll have him this game. So to think this is just going to be an easy game, I know the Jets may have quit on the season, and the Jets are terrible to start with. I'm not so sure this is going to be easy. I'll let you go first on your score prediction here.
Yeah. Oh, boy, that makes me feel like you might have some surprise. Well, you were the one that picked the Browns to win last game, huh?
I don't recall that, Furones. This will be edited. This will be edited out of the podcast.
Maybe we'll want to click back on our predictions for Dolphins Browns and verify that.
That's right. Yeah, nobody needs to do that.
As Perk scrambles to go and go into the file
That's right.
behind assistant editor Kevin Lerner's back.
That's right.
I know when we saw that first one, the Dolphins needed overtime at home against the Jets, who didn't have Breece Hall, didn't have Sauce Gardner in that game.
Yep.
It looked a little inauspicious. That road game, it could be tough. But now we have new information, which is of how bad the Jets just looked this past week. Now, that was against Buffalo, but it looks like a team that gave up on the season. I don't even know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers, whether or not he'll play. And if he does play, I don't think he'll be the Aaron Rodgers. Actually, we saw like some vintage Aaron Rodgers in that Miami game. Yeah. So he does not look that part right now. So, I know it was a little concerning how Garrett Wilson beat Jalen Ramsey. I'm sure he had last year on his mind for a full calendar year. Because remember, Jalen Ramsey shadowed Wilson last year in that 30-0 game and had shut him down. So I think that was probably on his mind. Now maybe it's the reverse. Maybe Jalen Ramsey's like, I can't let Garrett Wilson get me again. He's going to come out motivated. So we'll see how it plays out. Ultimately, I have Dolphins 23, and I'll say Jets 13. I'm not sure how the game will necessarily develop, what the tempo will be. It's probably a lot like this Dolphins-Browns game that we just saw with Tyler Huntley at quarterback, but what I saw from Huntley gives me confidence in his ability to orchestrate the offense, make plays when he needs to, manage the game at the right times. So I believe in him, and maybe some semblance of the run game that we did see 2 weeks ago. We did see one time when Huntley played against the Patriots. We didn't see this past game in Cleveland, so maybe we see some of it. The Jets are tough to run it, or I'm sorry, I have to look back at it, but I think they're tougher to pass against. But I see it, 23-13. Similar game. Jets probably get into the end zone somehow, make it tough, and then we'll see how much scoreboard watching is going on with the Dolphins. I just wrote about that.
Yep. I'm taking Dolphins 20-17. I'm taking Dolphins 20-17. Yeah, I tried my little tricky stuff last week with the Browns, and it didn't work out very well for me at all. It didn't work out very well at all. Matter of fact, I think I lost a chance to win the title last week. But anyway, look, I will say this: if the Dolphins don't win this game, wow. I mean, I know it's a December road game, and you could have the Hall of Famer out there, Aaron Rodgers, et cetera, but they've got to win this game. Absolutely, positively have got to win this game. John Russell checks in with Tua to play, try a fake spike like Marino, and blow his shoulder out. That would be even more than same old Dolphins. That would just be bad luck. Kenna Rankin said, I need Tua to play. Chinzo, Jets checked out already. LOL. Peter McDowell, if we lose this game, then Greer has to take the fall. Let's see.
Game, I wouldn't say. And I think we saw Stephen Ross, how pleased he was in the postgame locker room against San Francisco. That doesn't seem to me, and also we had the picture that our photographer Joe Cavaretta had on the sideline of him fist pumping, having a great time, all smiles. He doesn't seem to me right now like a man who's thinking about firing his coach or GM. So I would not say that.
I am him says Huntley is a dog. McDaniel is a great coach. We should win easily. Let's see here. Billy Batson says the stage was set for the Jets if Tua played. P. Double says Dolphins have to stop the dumb penalties. This is what pisses me off, the undisciplined flags. Please, McDaniel, have someone else challenge plays and stop pitching the ball on 4th and 1. Mike McDaniel cost them 2 timeouts.
He's the only one he's the one that holds the red flag. So he
is. He cost them 2 timeouts, Furones. Is that significant?
2 second-half timeouts. Now, they were ahead, so not as much. And then the first one, I understand because the decision even came down to a play that stands, and it looked like Huntley maybe before that foot touched out of bounds, extended and got the ball over. It was very bang, and you had a chance at getting it overturned. And we know what the Dolphins do in short yardage situations, which is exactly what we did end up seeing right after. Maybe not the combination of that play call after losing the challenge. But it wasn't as punitive losing the timeout because you were ahead and then you never had to come from behind in the second half. But if the second half would have gone the wrong way and then all of a sudden you were coming from behind with a late drive and you didn't have timeouts or you couldn't stop the clock because the Browns were running the ball with a lead, then that would have been just awful.
Yep. Sean Heller, what's up? Glad you were able to check in with us. Pete's Takes says, Perkins Dave, what I don't get is coach said he has no pain. I don't get why an injury with no pain is called an injury. And he goes on to say it's the last game possibly, and he's dealing with 0 pain. I don't get it, dude. I think that there's pain there. There's definitely a risk factor for further injury, but I think maybe there might be more discomfort than pain. I don't know that. Maybe McDaniel did say there's no pain. I don't know. I don't recall exactly what he said there, but look, I don't question Tua's toughness. Okay, I don't. That again. I'm not like a huge Tua apologist. Go Tua. You can run through a wall. He's a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback. He's a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, but I don't run Tua down. I like Tua. I respect Tua. I think he's got a good pain tolerance. I don't think that Tua is coming up short here as far as pain tolerance or anything like that in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and to clarify, the quote that I believe is being referred to here is Mike McDaniel saying it didn't come down to a pain tolerance thing.
Okay, there we go.
Is what they're referring to. So I don't think we ever received word that he is in no pain at all. Yeah. Now, of course, with any injury, I mean, like you could strain a muscle and it not be functional, and you won't actively feel pain when it's resting, but then you would feel pain if you tried to go and use it. So, it's not like you're just in constant pain when you're injured. It's a matter of, can you go and do your job, which if, injuries are debilitating to the body. So if you can't actually go and function the way you need to on the football field, it would actually be worse if you were so tough to play through certain things. But, everything we heard was that it didn't come down to whether he could withstand the pain or not. It was more about, it's a serious. Well, it's an injury that could be aggravated to be more serious if he takes another hit.
It's time for us to wrap this up. But speaking of injuries, Teron Armstead, we've seen him out there just really, really struggling. He asked out of the Jets game, missed the Houston game, asked out of last week's game. We all admire and respect Teron. We all like Teron. Should Teron play this game? Will McDonald IV and Hassan Reddick, I think, are both scheduled to play. I don't know if they played last week. Don't know if either of them is injured. I think they're both healthy. But my point here is, would Teron be a detriment on the field if he's, 60%, 50%, or would you rather have a debilitated Teron or a healthy Patrick Paul? And would Teron be jeopardizing the team, jeopardizing Snoop Huntley if he was out there? I would say I would leave it up to Teron. I'll say this very briefly. I'd leave it up to Teron. This could be his last season, could be his last game in a Dolphins uniform. He pulled himself out last week as opposed to trying to push it and maybe be a detriment to the team. I would leave it largely up to Teron.
Yeah, I'm with you. He knows his body better than anyone else, so he knows if he can go out there and be who he needs to be. And what he knows in the moment when he's not himself and needs to get out of there. And I think he has the sliding scale in his head of whether whatever percentage he is, whether it's better than Patrick Paul at the probably 90-something% that he's got to be, for himself as a rookie.
Yep. Mike says platoon him. Billy Batson says Coach Armstead should continue to prepare the guys. Legend says don't play him if we make the playoffs. Yeah, if not, cut him after the season. John Russell, Happy New Year to you. Peter McDowell, Happy New Year to you. Rifleman 165165, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks for watching. We truly, truly appreciate you guys being out there and supporting us and watching us. I'm Chris Perkins. That's David Furones. You have been watching Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk, last show of 2024. We look forward to many more in 2025. We will see you guys next week. Thanks.